Thank you for joining us, Agatha Gikunda and Mushiri Nyaga with us on stage. Please, Agatha, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Agatha Gikunda. I'm the head of software and services for Intel East Africa.
My name is Mushiri Nyaga, and I'm with the Open Institute, a think tank based here in Nairobi.
Okay, Agatha, I know you've been very involved with building and developing the mobile community, not just in Kenya, but in the region, in your former role at Nokia. I wonder, what are you up to at Intel, if that's okay to ask?
So I'm doing something very similar in Intel. So Intel is focused on working with developers, irrespective of the platforms that the developer chooses. So that's what's exciting for me personally in this new role. We are platform agnostic. So if you as a developer choose to work on Android, that's great. We have technical support and training for you. Or if you choose Windows, that's great as well. We support that. So Intel is basically focused in working with developers, enabling them so that they don't just focus on the software, but they're able to optimize their applications at a hardware level to create a richer consumer experience. So we're working with developers to differentiate themselves in the marketplace.
Thank you very much for that. And Mushiri, sorry, I'll bring this to you as well, just because I think these two experts here have a lot of work in capacities that are very helpful to the startup community, and most of you are here today. So can you also please just give us a brief summary of how the Open Institute is giving support, technical support to the startup community?
Well, my role has evolved a little bit in terms of where I sit. Last year, she was somewhere else. This year, she's somewhere else. This year, I'm somewhere else as well. But I started off running an innovation practice called SemaCraft, and one of the things we focused on was how to help our clients, usually multinationals or organizations based outside of Africa, launch products here that would survive the very harsh business environment. What we do what we did with startups was help bring that kind of information to them as well, so that our app developers who are working out of the various hubs would understand what it means to actually build stuff that solves a real problem and converts curious browsers on app stores into passionate clients. At the Open Institute, what we do with the ecosystem is basically empower the developers to do the same thing, but we take a more civic tech approach because our focus is on open government and how we can bridge the gap between technology and policy. And that's a role that we see developers playing, and that's what we hope to facilitate going forward.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, it would be great to get your feedback on the 4 startups that just launched their products. Agatha, please, let's start with you. I think we've had such a broad coverage from billing, gaming, healthcare, and finally to the mobile phone, that competitor to all the big shots out there. So please, Agatha, your feedback.
Okay, so overall it was, I think, very exciting. As you said, it was quite a different range of companies. Just some general views from me. It's good, it's possible sometimes for David to beat Goliath. It happens just sometimes, right? So my general advice from what I've seen is that it would be great to avoid trying to go against Goliath and instead look for opportunities to partner and use the resources, right? I think initially when I read about one of the last company that actually presented, they listed their competitors as Samsung, MyPhone. For some reason, they didn't think Nokia was one of their competitors. But from their pitch, it seemed that they're doing something different. But my advice for that kind of thing is, yes, it's possible, but initially, the better thing to do is to try and partner, right? So don't try and reinvent the wheel, and don't try and be vertically integrated where you're going to create the hardware, you're going to create the software, you're going to create the distribution means. Find your niche and try and stick to that, right? And try and use the money of Goliath to actually build your business, right? So as Intel, for example, we look for opportunities to actually build entrepreneurs and their businesses. So we're not competing with them. We find a mutual way where it's a win-win for everybody. So that's some of the advice that I would give as a start. Yeah.
I think one of my observations, especially because that caught my attention, is I think the need to see what else you need to scale. I liked the idea. One of the apps, ChopUp. ChopUp has they've thought about the API integration. They've thought about the monetizing of the apps beyond the usual credit card and whatnot. And it really is one of the biggest challenges for content providers, for content developers on the continent, how to actually turn your brilliant idea into cash in the bank. But the challenge with that, of course, is how you scale, how you grow across geographies. When you have to rely on curated content, it means that you're looking at some heavy investment in human resource at some point, and that can be pretty expensive at the beginning. And that's one of the biggest advantages of the huge of the Goliaths in the market. So I like what ChopUp is doing. I think they're opening up a whole new front.
Yeah.
Good possibilities there. And by opening up their API, they allow other people to take it up and use it. And eventually, what they do is grow on the sweat of their biggest fans. So
That's right. And on ChopUp as well, because they're focused on gaming and local content, which is really good, and we're interested in driving local content. But I think one of the myths that exist is that local content is only consumed locally, right? So you have Planet Ruckus, the other company that has a similar game actually to what this other company is doing, Math3 Racer, right? That was developed, and at the end of the day, Math3 is a local word. You'd think only Kenyans know what this means. Only Kenyans would be interested in driving a Math3 down a landscape where you see KICC, because only Kenyans would understand that. But they've shared this before, so I think I'm free to say that they've had over 1 million downloads, but I think less than 10% of those downloads were in Kenya, right? Because at the end of the day, racing a car is racing a car. So the gamer doesn't care that it's called a Math3 and it looks this way and that's the landscape around it. They don't care. They just think it's a cool game where they're able to do something, right? So when you create your application or try and distribute it, I think local, right? So yes, you're a local person, you know about the local problems, but think about how you're going to adapt that to a global scale, because ultimately that's the only way in which you can actually monetize effectively.
Thank you for that. We had the billing company, Remote Cycle, allowing local payments, which again is localizing that content. What did you think of that? Did you have some insights to give to the startup?
I think they had a brilliant demo. It wasn't clear to me what the offering was versus the existing competitors, right? Because we have almost everybody, specifically in Kenya, who's doing this, that. We have Cellulant here. How are you going to go against Cellulant? What's your advantage against what it is that Ken Njoroge has built over the last 10 years? That was not very clear to me exactly, but it was a great demo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did have a question, that I didn't feel got answered, or maybe it was one of those times when I looked down to start, typing away. Usually, the kind of solutions we come up with are not working in a vacuum. Our market is already trying to solve that exact problem. So chances are they have, at some point, started a journey towards investing in financial services software. If it's an accounting package or something. So it would have been nice to see how this plays with the rest of the products that their clients are probably already going to be running. So if they're running an accounting program, billing is just one part of their entire financial, strategy. Collect money, keep track of who's paying you and who's not paying you, but you also have to keep track of stationery and human resource payroll and all these kind of things. Is that how does this billing component play with the rest? So that's where I think you could get into some trouble when someone makes that leap and makes it very easily. It makes it very difficult for you to defend your proposition.
Yeah.
Okay, I think part of their proposition was that they were integrating with the current local players in that market. Exactly what when they said they were easing the pain points in billing, and that's what they were addressing. I'm curious to know exactly what does, and I think I'll find out from them later, and probably a good chance for all of us here to find out more of what the specific offering is above whatever else is on the market. Then we had we've discussed ChopUp. I think we really enjoyed that energetic presentation by Bio. And yes, gaming platform, opening up the APIs, we've just gone through that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to be received by the market. Last year, one of the success stories we had out of Demo Africa 2012 was a gaming product, also from Nigeria. So I'm pretty excited to see what the take-up will be on this other gaming solution, which is actually a platform. The other interesting, and I think one addressing a huge problem, diabetes growing in the continent, management of that, not just for the patients, but for their families, for children not being able to manage that, and therefore bring in their parents, other family members, and other experts. Sorry, I think what did you think of Anaso Diabetes by Dr. Chibuzzo, the presentation and the demo?
I think the presentation was good. I think anytime you have a doctor actually presenting, it commands some attention. So it was good, it was interesting. I think the platform can probably be used for a lot of other diseases, so its ability to scale is there. Again, that's one of the types of applications where I would be looking to see as an investor what partnerships exist already, right? Because it's one thing to ask for the money, but it's a more compelling argument if you say we already have this partnership with these organizations and this is what we've been able to do so far. So that is just the piece that I thought was missing. But overall, I think it was a great presentation. It's just, it is not clear. Advertising as a means to make money is something I think a lot of companies propose as part of their business model, because yes, Google has been able to do that extremely successfully. But I think from experience, from most companies, it takes a lot. You need huge, massive global scale and lots of years before you're actually effectively able to do that, right? Twitter is unable to do that yet, right? So with a product like that that's targeting the African market that might not be that cash rich, I think that's one of the things you need to look at, a different way of monetizing other than just advertising.
Yes. Yeah. And perhaps, as you mentioned, the partnerships with the pharmaceutical companies, the machines that actually sell the equipment to do the monitoring. I don't know, but I think that's some areas to look into for partnership. Moshiri?
I think the idea of using advertising as one way of monetizing it really did catch my attention. Of course, the challenges of scale, checking really quickly, and as Agatha mentioned, that's extremely difficult to make happen. However, I think there are opportunities to be very creative about how you bring advertisers on board and the kind of proposition that you put before them. So I think that could be a challenge for Dr. Chibuzzo's platform, but I actually think it's a fantastic idea. We've been talking about patient-friendly electronic health records in this market for a long time. So whatever he's doing in South Africa, I'm sure will catch the attention of a lot of us up this way. One thing though, I think talking about scale earlier, and I think that applies to this as well. Once you build something like this and there are other doctors who are treating diabetic patients who are interested in using it, I think a quick way of growing it would be to make it as easy as possible for other doctors, your competitors, to get on board and use it, without having to jump through hoops or play nice with you as a competitor. So I think that's one of the things that I'd have loved to see. It probably does it. I just didn't hear it come through. But I think it's actually a very good idea.
Yeah. I don't know. Have we gone through? I think we have. Would you have anything specific for the startups?
Just back on Dream Mobile, when I looked at their problem statement that they have in the guide, they were trying to solve lots of huge problems, right? I think there was 3 big problems: cost of the device, the cost of data, the lack of easy discoverability of local content. Those are massive problems for one company to be solving with one solution, right? So some advice again for that would be to try and focus, pick one problem. You don't need to save the world, just pick one problem and try and get good partners that can work with you to help you actually solve that, and investors that actually have the skill and talent within that specific vertical.
Can I just be very brazen? I think it sounds like Intel could be a very interesting partner for Dream Mobile.
Sure, we'd be interested in talking to them. We're always looking for more partners that we can support, specifically in scaling even beyond Africa. So yeah, we would be interested in that. They mentioned that they would create the first Swahili smartphone. And I looked at that. There's been Swahili, not smartphones, but feature phones in East Africa for the last 10 years available, so not smartphones. And the question I think we should be asking is, why are there no Swahili smartphones? Is it because there's a need, or nobody's actually thought about it. When you think about it, the only country that would need a Swahili smartphone would probably be Tanzania, right? So the market is very small. So again, when you partner with large organizations that have probably had that research, thought about it, then maybe you save a lot of time and money and effort instead of actually investing in creating a Swahili smartphone that will have a really tiny market, if anything. You invest your resources in something that can actually help you scale in a bigger way.
I think there are probably other languages in the continent that, in other regions, I don't know, I would say, for example, Arabic-speaking countries, where I think the language, whereas within Kenya or Eastern Africa, Swahili is probably not, the match that Dream Mobile thinks it could have. But yeah, I think the language specific could work in other parts of the continent rather than Swahili-speaking region. Please proceed,
Yeah, no, that was it. Just some general advice. I didn't hear about a lot of pilots, right? So when you look at the program, there's people have invested $2,000 and then they want to move to $1 million. It's actually quite a big leap. And listening in the audience, it wasn't clear to me how the money is going to be spent, what the timelines are. If I was an investor, how fast am I going to get my money back? And I know 6 minutes is very little time to actually say all of that, but it's stuff that I would have been interested in hearing a little bit more about. There's probably 1 or 2 companies that actually had a staged pilot where they said the first year they just need $35,000 to test the idea, right? So that is one of the things that I strongly recommend. Pilot it, test it. Yes, there's 1 million pilots happening in Africa today, and I think we're all sick of hearing about pilots, but I think there's value in piloting because you are able to not invest a huge amount of money in an idea that ends up not being feasible. So that's just part of the advice I'd give, is look for small amounts of money, say how the money is going to be used, how the investor is going to get their money back, and plan for a pilot. Don't plan for scale when you don't yet have a working product or proven business model.
Yeah, and pilot, is one of the things that we complain about on the development side of the industry. But yeah, pilotitis. Other than that, I think some deliberate spending on research, at least the qualitative research that you need in order to prove that your product actually does fit into the context within which you hope it will be used. That will be interesting. That would be interesting to hear. I think it does get left out quite a bit. One thing though, just to go back to the Swahili business, it's one of those human assumptions. Kenyans speak horrible Swahili. And I say that with the best possible intentions. Right? If you ask regular guys out there, especially middle class, well dressed, tie wearing fellows, to translate a sentence in English into Swahili sanifu, clean, proper, Swahili, you might find that we're not very good at it. So Swahili is not really one of those things that one of those languages we speak a lot. However, we do speak a version of Swahili. So maybe a Sheng app. No, not that either. But something around figuring out what kind of languages people really want to use. Some attention would be great. Yeah.
Agatha, I can't help but I can peep into your notes, and to the startups, I would suggest you grab her and get some more specific input that she has for you when she's passing by your stalls at the demo pit. Any more generic advice you'd have for the mobile category startups based on your very in-depth experience?
Actually, it's not for the startups necessarily, it's maybe for the organizers of demo, and I've said this before in every conference, and I'll keep repeating it till I see a change. It would be great if when you come to a conference like this, it's not Intel, Nokia, Microsoft, and that half the crowd. It's incestuous almost. We know each other, we're speaking to each other at every single conference, but we're trying to solve problems for people who are not in the tech industry. Those are the people that actually need to be here listening to the pitches. So if we had Coca-Cola in the audience listening to this, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, those are the people who actually have the real world problems that we're trying to fix here, right? So tech people speaking to other tech people with tech solutions does not get us very far, right? Demo Africa next year, it's probably going to be 99% of the same people here. We don't get very far that way. I think for us to actually have a big change in terms of seeing successful companies come out of this tech buzz in Africa, we need to have that integration, right? So we need to not have just the usual suspects here. We need to have a bigger mix. That's how we're going to see, I think, big change and success from all these startups. Yeah.
Point taken. I know that from last year's Demo Africa, we did try to reach Coca-Cola specifically, and the other, just to say to them, do you not want to come and see the technology and how you can improve your, how you reach your customers? And it's tricky, so maybe there's some homework for us to do on how to creatively approach them to get them to, to be interested in a tech conference, because I think they just see tech and completely just exclude themselves from it. But I think that's food for thought, and we have to figure out a way to do it with you on the advisory board.
I think probably thinking along the same lines. One of the things that we've talked about doing. I know there's some effort last year, and this year I'm sure there was some effort as well, and we're going to continue putting effort in it, is to also bring in other sciences on board. All those people who play in the life sciences space, there's a lot of investment available, there's a lot of need there. It would be great. And of course, I'm very, very inspired. At my next time I get on stage to present, please expect me to sing as I start. Starting with a song, up the ante, no more poems. It's going to be awesome. Make sure you're there.
Okay, thank you very much. A warm hand for our Sage panelists.